one forgets who he is. One stops letting people in. One drowns in duty. And one just wants it all to end. Everyone thinks living forever would be amazing, but what if it's actually the worst thing that could happen? Adventure Time quietly unpacks the reality of immortality through 4 different characters, each revealing a brutal reality about what it truly means to never die. Simon Petraov didn't have any choice in becoming immortal. He stumbled upon it. He used to be a curious mortal who studied magical relics when he found the Crown, a powerful magical artifact that grants its bearer their deepest wish. Simon would have had a lifetime of studying ahead of him with his newly acquired immortality, truly fulfilling his passion as antiquarian. However, an unfortunate turn of events in the past made it so the Crown wouldn't grant him any wish, but turn him into a distorted version of Urgence, the original creator of the Crown.
I'm really scared.
And still, that wasn't even the burden of his immortality. It actually saved him, and others, at first. When the Mushroom War ravaged the world, Simon was one of the few who survived. Not because he was strong, lucky, or smart, but because the Crown wouldn't let him die. In the wreckage of civilization, Simon wandered through ash and ruins until he found a young girl named Marceline. She needed protection, and somehow, even as his mind began to slip, Simon held on long enough to keep her safe. He gave her a stuffed animal, scavenged food, fought off monsters. The Crown gave him the power to endure when the world offered nothing but collapse. It let him keep going when no one else could. And for a while, that seemed like a miracle. He was able to be a hero and a father figure, which was still the good part of immortality. But that wasn't the real cost. Not yet. The reality revealed itself slowly.
I know my mind is changing, but I'm already too far gone to know what to do.
The Crown didn't just keep Simon alive, it began rewriting him. At first, he dismissed the lapses in memory of not knowing what happened when he wore the crown. But the changes weren't random. They were pulling him toward someone else, someone he never asked to become. Betty noticed it before he did. She was the one person who loved him fully, and the first to realize she couldn't save him. So she left.
All I know is I never saw Betty again.
Because even she didn't know what he was becoming, and neither did he. That was the first loss that immortality gave, but not the last.
If I do things that hurt anyone, please forgive me.
After the war, as the world shifted into something unrecognizable, Simon clung to the one thing left, Marceline. But he'd seen what the Crown did to Betty, how he scared her and drove her away.
Where's my princess? Princess! Princess!
Simon, don't leave me like this.
And deep down, he knew it was only a matter of time before he lost control again. So he made the hardest choice. He left. Not because he stopped caring, but because that's all he did.
Seriously, Simon, please don't go.
I have to protect you.
Immortality made him lose his mind over time, and in turn, drove everyone else away. He isolated himself, hoping distance would protect anyone from whatever he was becoming. But it didn't protect him. For Simon, the reality of it just began. He couldn't change or move forward, so he became stuck as the Ice King, stuck with all the guilt and broken memories of what had happened to him, and immortality made sure that he could not get away from that reality, until he became himself again. For a moment in time, the power of his crown gets shut down by Belenash's anti-magic, and he turns back into Simon Petraov. He knows he doesn't have much time in this state, so he opens a time portal to see Betty one last time, just to say sorry and explain how everything that happened wasn't truly him.
Just know that I love you and I forgive you for leaving me.
But Betty doesn't want to say goodbye. She jumps through the portal to be with him, and when she sees how sick he is, all she wants to do is help.
Don't die, Simon. I just got here.
She promises to fix the crown, the one that's killing him and keeping him alive at the same time. Simon is scared, not just of dying, but of losing the last bit of himself again. Still, he lets her try, because deep down, he wants to believe in her. As they fly toward Belanash, Death appears beside them to take Simon.
The death bus.
I've got you in my sights, Simon.
Simon knows what's coming. He calls it the Death Bus. He thinks this is the end, and in all honesty, it could have been. He would have finally transcended his immortal burdens if it wasn't for Betty, who refused to give up. She charged straight into the fight and took Belenosh down, which restored the Ice Crown and the Ice King. And that's when the trap of his immortality sets in again. It doesn't protect him. It resets him back into the same loop with no memory, no control, and no choice. That version stays for years until Betty finds a permanent solution, one that she could only reach by sacrificing herself and merging with Golb, the aftermath of which we see in Fiona and Cake. For the first time in ages, Simon is fully human. He's left to face a world that moved on without him. People around him have found peace, purpose, or simply no longer exist. This is what immortality really looks like: carrying pain that never ends, and having infinite time to heal from it, but never being able to do so. He thought getting rid of the crown would fix him, that losing the magic would bring back the man he used to be. But it didn't. It only left space for the pain to flood back in. What makes Fiona and Cake powerful isn't that it fixes Simon, it lets him fall apart. He's honest, he doesn't know who he is anymore. He lost love, purpose, and himself long before he lost the crown. Immortality, in his case, wasn't freedom, it was imprisonment. But for Marceline, immortality was something completely different. She created her own prison by being immortal. Her story didn't start with a curse. It started with loss. Her mother left her when she was little. Then Simon left her. And from that point on, Marceline learns to expect the people she loved to disappear. That wasn't even the worst part. To the world, she was already strange. Half demon, half human. And when she became a vampire, she wasn't just different anymore. She became something people feared. Not because of what she did, but because of what she couldn't stop being. Her immortality made sure she lived through the Mushroom War and its aftermath. She remembers the destruction, the rebuilding, the heartbreak. She remembers who people used to be, how they fear her, and watches as time keeps replacing them. That's the kind of immortality Marceline lives with. Not forgetting, but remembering too much. That kind of memory wears you down. You stop letting people get close. You stop talking about the past because no one understands it. And even when things are good, you're always waiting for the day they won't be. Marceline becomes guarded, sarcastic, and emotionally distant, a defense mechanism against the losses that never stop coming. And in Stakes, we see what all those years had done to her. After centuries of being immortal, Marceline decides she's done.
I don't want to spend eternity like this, with this emptiness. I want to grow up.
She says it plainly, because when you live this long, it's not your body that gives in, it's the eternal dread of loneliness.
I don't want to be a vampire anymore.
Oh my globness.
PB doesn't question her motives and helps her. And when the vampiric essence is finally extracted, Marceline becomes mortal again. For a moment, she's free, but immortality never lets go that easily. Without her essence to suppress it, the ancient vampires she once defeated begin to return. One by one, the Fool, the Empress, the Hierophant, the Moon, and finally, the Vampire King. But the Vampire King doesn't come to fight. He's there to end his cycle too. And after some struggle, they help him. But everything goes wrong with his vampiric essence being extracted, so now it threatens to destroy the Candy Kingdom, so Marceline is left with only one choice. She has to become an immortal vampire again to help them. Just like that, her chance of mortality slips away. In the end, she sacrifices herself for the very people she once tried to avoid. Because building connections always meant watching them fade. But losing them without trying was worse. But that's not even the worst immortality can do. It doesn't just trap you in memory or isolate you from love. Sometimes it gives you something far more dangerous. A reason to keep going, no matter the cost. If Simon's immortality is stagnation, and Marceline's is loneliness and isolation, Princess Bubblegum's is something else entirely. It's looking for meaning and purpose. PB has been around for over 800 years, and she didn't come into the world like most people. We learned that in Bonnie and Nettie. She was formed from the Mother Gum. She holed herself together, literally, and her first instinct wasn't to explore or escape, it was to comfort and protect her little brother.
We spawned together from the Mother Gum, and now I'm all he has.
She didn't choose to be a leader, she became one and never stopped. As the centuries passed, she built the Candy Kingdom from scratch. She created its people, its government, its rules, and its buildings, even its giant guardians. Bonnibel doesn't resist entropy by falling into madness like the Ice King. She resists it by fighting it through invention, planning, and constant control. For her, immortality isn't stillness or sorrow, it's motion, constant motion. But beneath that tireless drive is fear.
I realized something. I'm not gonna live forever, Finn.
After nearly dying in mortal recoil, she starts to worry. What happens if she's not around to lead? That fear leads to Goliad, where she creates a candy sphinx with psychic powers to rule the kingdom in her place. A backup plan for eternity, but one that quickly goes wrong. Goliad is supposed to protect the kingdom forever, but when it becomes clear that Goliad is too controlling, too rigid, PB has to shut it down. And even then, she just creates another backup plan, a new creature called Stormo. That's how her immortality works. She doesn't retreat into silence or madness. She holds on through relentless purpose. She creates, corrects, and starts again. This is how she fights chaos. But in trying to protect everyone and everything, she ends up pushing people away. Because purpose becomes a wall, and over time, it leaves less and less space for real connection. That distance shows up in Varmints, where Bubblegum and Marceline finally reconnect after years of silence. They stopped talking after PB became more focused on ruling and pushed Marceline out of her life without ever saying why.
All I managed to do was push everyone away. I pushed you away.
While tracking down rogue creatures under the Candy Kingdom, they're also confronting what they've both avoided. The way PB's obsession with duty has hurt the relationship.
I tried. I really tried. I thought that if I shut everything out and just focused on work, it would all be okay.
It's one of her most vulnerable moments in the series. She cries and admits the truth. Her sense of responsibility didn't just build a kingdom, it built distance between her and the people she cared about. And it wasn't the first time she tried to create connection through purpose. In Bonnibel Bubblegum, we get flashbacks to her early life after being formed from the Mother Gum. She tries to create a family by creating Gumball, Chicle, and others. She wanted equals, she wanted companionship. But when they turned against her, she panicked and turned them into candy people, effectively making them simpler, easier to manage. She didn't mean to become a ruler, but that's what happened. After that, she stopped trying to make equals and just focused on being perfect herself. The kind of perfect that would never be challenged again. And in Elements, we see what that perfection looks like when it goes too far. PB becomes the Candy Elemental, an ancient force tied to her identity, and she reshapes the entire land of Oo into a candy-coated utopia. But it's not really safe or a utopia, it's hollow. People don't feel anymore, they just smile. The world is preserved under her control, but completely lifeless. That's the danger of PB's philosophy when pushed to the extreme. A world so stable, it stops growing. She eventually realizes this and helps restore Oo to its real form, but it shows just how deep her fear of loss runs. She tried to freeze the entire world in place just to stop it from breaking. Princess Bubblegum's immortality didn't bring isolation or stagnation, it put her in a relentless pursuit of purpose. But when centuries stretch on with no end, duty starts to feel less like meaning and more like maintenance. What's the point of living forever if it's only to maintain a kingdom that keeps falling apart? At the end of her series, her view on immortality shifts, from surviving for others to asking what she wants for herself, not just as a ruler, but as a person. She starts looking beyond order, toward connection, joy, and meaning. And for the first time in hundreds of years, she realizes she doesn't have to carry everything alone. Sadly, even that kind of growth, connection, purpose, meaning, doesn't stop the inevitable. Because in Adventure Time, there's one more truth about immortality that no one can escape. The end still comes. And to make sure of that, some characters carry no burden at all with their immortality, like the Lich. He first appears in His Hero, and isn't like the other villains in the show. He doesn't want power, fame, or revenge. He wants everything to end. You could question if he isn't just misunderstood after being alive for such a long time and seeing how evil wins time and time again. In Escape from the Citadel, the Lich tells Finn exactly what he is.
We will sail until every light has been extinguished.
He's not exaggerating. His goal is to erase all life. This is immortality twisted into something empty, a being that lives forever just to make sure nothing else does. Luckily, Adventure Time doesn't let the Lich win forever. After all his destruction, something surprising happens in Escape from the Citadel. When Finn and Jake try to stop him with Prismo's help, the plan goes wrong, and the outcome changes everything. Instead of being destroyed, the Lich is reborn. At first, it seems like the danger is gone, but in Gold Stars, we learn that the Lich's darkness didn't disappear, it just went quiet. When he's scared, you can hear the Lich's voice echo for a moment.
Just a dream.
But it's not. The Lich's evil still lingers, quiet inside Sweet Pea, echoing through the multiverse. In Together Again, we see the Lich return by possessing New Death, proving that his essence still moves through timelines, waiting for another chance to end all life. Because that's his immortality, a cycle of destruction with no love, no memory, somewhat of a purpose, just the need to end everything again and again. Then, at last, there's Golb, the final threat in the series and the purest form of immortal chaos. Golb appears in Come Along With Me, summoned by magic gone wrong. When Golb shows up, everything starts to break, shapes twist, time goes out of order, and the world begins to fall apart. Golb doesn't talk, he doesn't attack anything in a normal way, he just exists, and everything around him breaks. Even the four elementals, ice, fire, candy, and slime, are useless against him. He's not evil, he's just pure chaos. So how do they stop him? With sacrifice. Betty gives up everything to protect Simon. She puts on the ice crown and makes a final wish, one that keeps him safe, even if it means losing herself. The wish works, but it fuses her with Golb. She disappears with him, and the danger fades, for now. It's a sad moment, but still a kind of a win. In a world shaped by immortality, where beings live forever and power never fades, it wasn't magic or strength that made the difference. It was love. Betty didn't beat Golb, she didn't end his immortality, she didn't live forever, but she gave up everything for someone she loved. And that is the true theme of immortality in Adventure Time. Sacrifice. Simon sacrificed his sanity to keep Marcy safe during the aftermath of the Mushroom War. Marceline sacrificed her mortality to save her friends and the Candy Kingdom. Princess Bubblegum sacrificed real connections by devoting her life toward the Candy Kingdom. And the Lich sacrificed his immortality to give us an amazing villain. Living forever sounds like a gift, but in Adventure Time, it's often more of a burden than a blessing. You stop growing, you watch friends disappear, meaning slip away, and time turns everything you built into something unrecognizable. Each character shows a different version of that burden: stagnation, isolation, purpose, and destruction, even among the other immortals, but all lead to the same painful truth. Immortality always takes more than it gives, because in the end, what hurts most isn't dying, it's living so long that you forget why you were here in the first place. And to live a life without purpose or love is one devoid of meaning. If that's something you're struggling with, make sure to check out our video on Princess Bubblegum and Marceline. Their arc really shows what it means to learn to love yourself before you can love someone else.